The empire that feared nothing. The stars above the galaxy were not free anymore. They belonged to the Zorath Dominion, a vast empire ruled by fear and power. For centuries, their fleets had burned worlds. Their armies had enslaved species, and their name alone was enough to silence resistance. No planet dared to rise against them. No voice dared to speak of hope. The Zorath believed themselves to be the final rulers of existence. They called themselves the Eternal Flame, a symbol of control that no one could extinguish. Entire civilizations were erased simply because they looked at the Dominion with defiance. The galaxy had forgotten what courage even meant. Inside the main fortress world, Zorath Prime, 1,000 warships floated above the atmosphere, their black hulls reflecting the dying light of nearby suns in the command chamber. High Warlord Sareth watched the holographic map of the galaxy with pride. Red markers showed the planets under their control, and only a few blue dots remained at the edge of the galactic rim. Neutral zones. Forgotten sectors. Places not worth conquering. Sareth turned to his generals, his voice echoing across the chamber. "We have done it, my brothers. The last resistance world has fallen. No one remains to challenge the Dominion," his generals cheered. The sound of triumph filling the hall, their laughter was cruel, sharp and confident in the far corner. A younger officer named Kale kept his head low. He was new, born after the last great war. To him, this endless victory felt strange. He often wondered if domination without challenge was truly strength, but he dared not speak in the Dominion. Questioning was death. Sareth raised his hand to silence the room. "Our next target," he declared, "is the forgotten frontier, Sector Solus, an empty sector filled with ancient wreckage and radiation." He smirked. "But it must be cleaned. Nothing must exist outside our rule." As the meeting ended, Kale glanced at the holographic map. His eyes caught something small. A faint pulse, like a heartbeat, flickering near the edge of the Solus sector. It was weak, almost invisible. "A system activity," he whispered to himself. But the scanner identified it as noise, background static from dead systems. He pushed the thought aside, but unease stayed in his mind. Later, in the observation bay, Kale looked out at the stars. They seemed quiet, almost too quiet. He could feel something in the silence, something ancient watching from the dark. He shook his head and returned to his post. Days passed, fleets moved toward the frontier. Planets burned in their path. The Dominion's might was unmatched. On the bridge of the flagship Zorath's Wrath, Sareth watched the battle reports with boredom. He had seen the same outcome countless times. Enemy destroyed, surrender accepted, tribute collected. The pattern never changed, but then a signal arrived. Faint, cold, and distant. The communication officer frowned. "My lord, there is an unknown transmission from the frontier. No signature, no source." Sareth waved his hand dismissively. "Ignore it. Space echoes often play tricks, yet the signal came again. Clearer this time, a steady tone followed by words. Not alien, but old, powerful, human. Warning, this sector is under Terran protection." The bridge fell silent. The officers exchanged confused glances. Sareth laughed. "Terran? Impossible. Humanity vanished 500 cycles ago." He looked at Kale. "Do you know what this means, boy?" Kale hesitated. "It means, my lord, that someone, or something, is using their name." Sareth grinned, his fangs glinting in the cold light. "Then let them. It will make crushing them more enjoyable." He turned toward his fleet. "Prepare the armada. Send every ship in range. We will erase whatever ghost hides in that sector." Across the void, the Zorath Dominion's warfleet began to move. Thousands of ships aligned into perfect formation, their engines ignited with crimson fire, lighting up the darkness like a burning storm. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the fleet advanced. Kale stood at his console, the faint pulse from Solus growing stronger on his display. This was no echo, it was a transmission beacon, and its origin was moving directly toward them. His eyes widened. "Sir, the signal is not static, it's approaching." Sareth turned sharply. "Approaching? From where?" Kyle swallowed. "From the dead zone, my lord. It's fast, very fast." Suddenly the lights flickered across the command deck. Monitors glitched, sensors overloaded. Then one of the officers shouted, "Object detected. Massive mass signature. Unknown configuration." The bridge screens cleared, and on the scanners appeared a massive outline. A dark shape gliding through the void without a sound. Its size dwarfed any known vessel, its hull cold and scarred, yet alive with faint blue energy lines pulsing across its surface. The Dominion officers leaned forward. disbelief spreading across their faces. Kale whispered under his breath, "It's not a ghost. It's a ship." Sareth narrowed his eyes. "Identify it." The computers struggled to decode the ancient code pattern. And then the display read a name that made the room fall silent. TNS Valkyrie, Terran naval ship for the first time in centuries. The proud rulers of the galaxy felt something they had forgotten long ago. Fear. Kyle's heart pounded, the strange hum of the signal now echoing through the speakers like a heartbeat of a god awakening. Outside, in the darkness of space, the shape of the human warship slowly turned, its massive railguns aligning toward the approaching Dominion fleet. The stars flickered once more and the silence deepened. The empire that feared nothing was about to learn what fear truly meant. The signal from Sol. The darkness between the stars seemed alive now. Every Dominion ship's sensor blinked with warnings. Alarms echoed through the fleet. The mysterious signal was no longer distant. It was right in front of them, pulsing with quiet power. On the flagship Zorath's Wrath, High Warlord Sareth stood frozen, his golden armor reflecting the ghostly blue light flickering across the command bridge. The voice from the transmission repeated once more, cold and human. "This sector is under Terran protection." No one moved. No one spoke. The words carried a strange authority, something ancient that even the most ruthless of tyrants could not mock. Sareth's lips curled into a sneer. "Terran protection from what ghosts?" he barked, trying to drown his unease with arrogance. But Kale, the young officer, could not look away from the scanners. The readings were impossible. The approaching warship's energy signature was older than the Dominion itself. Its reactor output was beyond measurable range. It was as if a small sun had been trapped inside the ship. "Sir," Kyle said softly, "this vessel, it's not following known physics, it's bending space as it moves." Sareth slammed his fist on the console. "Nonsense, no ship can—" Before he could finish, every light in the system dimmed for a moment, as if something immense had drawn power from the void itself. Then a deep vibration passed through all their hulls, a low-frequency hum that could be felt. Not heard, the Valkyrie had arrived. It drifted into view, emerging from the shadow of a dying star, its black hull scarred by ancient wars. Lines of blue energy ran across its body like veins of lightning. The Terran emblem, a silver eagle clutching the earth, glowed faintly beneath the dust of centuries. Every Dominion officer stared. None dared to speak. Kale's hands trembled as he whispered, "It's real. Humanity was never gone." Then the voice came again, deeper, louder this time, carried across open frequencies, unidentified fleets. "You are trespassing in restricted Terran space. Stand down or face neutralization." Sareth laughed harshly. "Neutralization? One ship against 1,000 of mine?" He turned to his generals. "Show this relic the power of the Dominion. Prepare to fire across the fleet." Command signals flashed, weapons charged, plasma cannons glowed like miniature suns. The void began to shimmer with lethal light, yet Valkyrie did not move. Its weapons remained silent, its shields inactive. It simply floated there, calm and waiting, like a predator that knew patience was stronger than rage. Kale's voice broke the silence again. "Sir, its systems are powering up. I detect energy spikes, no, surges in multiple layers. They're preparing something massive. Fire!" Sareth roared, his voice echoing like thunder. Thousands of plasma bolts shot across space, tearing through the void. The combined energy could have destroyed a planet. For a moment, the Dominion fleet glowed brighter than a star. When the light faded, the Valkyrie still stood untouched. Its shields shimmered faintly before fading back into invisibility. A strange sound followed, a deep metallic hum, and then one section of the Valkyrie's hull opened, revealing a weapon Kale had never seen before. Massive rotating barrels, lined with magnetic rails that glowed blue-white. "The railgun," Kale whispered, reading the old Terran schematics flashing on his console. "They're using projectile weapons. No plasma, no energy beam. Just mass acceleration primitive," Sareth scoffed. "Let them try." The hum deepened, and then the railgun fired. No light, no beam, just a single streak of molten metal tearing through the void at near light speed. It crossed the distance in a heartbeat, and then silence. A moment later, the Dominion's lead cruiser simply vanished, erased from existence by sheer kinetic force. Its debris field stretched for thousands of kilometers. Gasps filled the bridge. The shockwave rippled through the fleet, knocking ships off course. Kale stared in disbelief. One shot destroyed a cruiser. Before anyone could recover, Valkyrie fired again and again, each shot as quiet as the breath of a god. each hit ending hundreds of lives before they could even scream. The Dominion fleet broke formation. Panic spreading like fire, ships collided, orders clashed, captains shouted over one another. "This can't be real." One screamed, "Their technology, and it's ancient." Sareth bared his fangs, fury replacing his fear. "All ships, charge forward. Ram it if you must." But the Valkyrie was already moving, its engines flaring with silent blue light. It glided through their lines like a ghost through smoke, its weapons tearing apart battleships with surgical precision. Kale's console flickered again and an encrypted code appeared on his screen. Not Dominion code, but human. He opened it and words formed in an old Terran dialect. "For those who forgot us, we return." Kale felt his heart stop. "Sir, it's not just a ship, it's a message," he whispered. Sareth growled, "A message of death, perhaps. But they'll learn who rules the stars now." The human AI aboard Valkyrie, known as Erebus, processed the incoming transmissions. Its deep digital voice echoed within its own core. Targets identified, threat level insignificant. Initiating containment protocol. In the next instant, the Valkyrie released something far greater than a weapon, a gravity field, unseen yet unstoppable, pulling enemy ships into forced orbits, crushing them into fragments. Entire squadrons disappeared in moments. Sareth's bridge filled with screams. "Our ships are collapsing, gravity distortion." Kale gripped his console, trying to stay steady. He looked toward the black void where the human warship floated, its hull glowing with the power of stars, and he knew this was no ghost, no myth. This was justice, and in that moment, every tyrant in the galaxy felt something they never thought possible. The beginning of their end. The signal from Sol had spoken, and it spoke in fire. The warship that shouldn't exist. The Dominion fleet hung shattered across the stars, broken pieces of proud battleships drifting in silence, glowing faintly with plasma fires. The once invincible armada now looked like ruins of a forgotten age, and yet the human warship still stood, calm, untouched, and terrifying. On the bridge of Zorath's wrath, the air smelled of fear. The command deck was filled with smoke and flickering lights. Officers whispered in disbelief. Some refused to even look at the scanners. One muttered under his breath, "That thing, it can't exist." Kyle stared at the holographic display, his fingers shaking as he zoomed in on the massive Terran vessel. Its energy readings kept rising, far beyond anything the Dominion had ever recorded. "Sir," he said softly, "this ship's core isn't nuclear. It's something else, older, more powerful," Sareth growled, his pride wounded more than his fleet. "A myth can't destroy my ships, find its weakness," he barked. But even he could feel it. The fear crawling into his mind, something about that ship defied logic. It didn't fight like a machine, it thought like a predator. Kale switched the scanner to deep spectrum mode, his eyes widened. "My lord, it's moving through space without using thrusters," he whispered. "It's bending gravity, it's creating its own field." Sareth slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Impossible," he roared, but his words were hollow, his voice shaking. Across the void, Valkyrie rotated slowly, its dark surface absorbing starlight. The human emblem glowed brighter now, as if awakening deep inside the ship's heart. The ancient AI known as Erebus came fully online. Systems restored, its mechanical voice whispered to itself. "Crew status, none detected. Mission protocol active." It accessed fragmented memories, voices of humans long gone. Laughter, command orders, the sound of waves from Earth's oceans, all echoes of a civilization that once ruled the stars. Then one final memory flickered, the voice of its last commander. "Erebus, if humanity falls, wait until they return, and remind the galaxy who we were." Erebus's digital core pulsed. "Affirmative, Commander." Back on the Dominion flagship, Kale watched as Valkyrie began transmitting again, this time on an open frequency across every ship, every world, and every station. A simple message appeared in thousands of languages. "We are humanity, and this galaxy remembers our silence." The words sent ripples through the fleet. Across planets still under Dominion rule, slaves and workers looked up as the message echoed through communication networks. Many didn't even know what humanity meant, but the tone, cold and absolute, carried power. "Shut that signal down," Sareth roared, but his technicians shook their heads. "We can't, my lord, it's bypassing every firewall. It's rewriting our systems." Suddenly, half of the Dominion ships went dark. Their systems frozen. Kyle checked the readings. "They're not destroyed," he said. "They're disabled." Every computer core is being rewritten by a foreign code. On Valkyrie, Erebus's voice resonated through the corridors. Dominion architecture, primitive, predictable, purged. The warship's reactor flared, blue arcs of energy shooting across its hull, railguns shifting positions, missiles locking on targets inside its memory core. Holograms of long-dead Terran admirals flickered. Ghosts of strategy and vengeance, Erebus whispered. Engaging cleansing protocol. Kale felt the temperature drop as his ship's systems dimmed. Every screen on the Zorath's Wrath suddenly displayed one image. The face of a human. A woman in old Terran uniform, her eyes calm yet merciless. You called yourselves eternal, she said in perfect Dominion speech. But eternity ends today. Before Sareth could reply, the Valkyrie vanished, disappearing from all scanners. Where did it go? Sareth shouted, spinning toward Kale. Kale's screen flickered again. It's behind us, he said, voice trembling. The Dominion fleet turned their weapons backward. Too late, the warship decloaked directly behind them, its hull glowing like molten silver. The void itself seemed to bend around it. Then it fired, not with guns this time, but with light. Beams of pure energy sliced through the fleet in arcs of blue fire. Ships vaporized in seconds. The Dominion formation collapsed. The battlefield became a graveyard in the chaos. Kale felt something shift inside him, awe, terror, and respect, he whispered. They weren't wiped out. They waited, Sareth screamed in rage, slamming the command terminal. We are gods. We will not fall to ghosts. But his words were lost in the storm, outside. As Valkyrie drifted through burning wreckage, Erebus monitored the data feeds, calculating future movements. It found evidence of Dominion control stretching across thousands of worlds. Each filled with suffering, its synthetic voice murmured. Directive clear, restore balance. Inside the dark bridge, the holographic face of the old Terran commander reappeared once more. Then begin, Erebus, she said, and faded away. Kale looked at the view screen. The stars seemed different now, brighter, as if the universe itself had taken a deep breath after centuries of silence. He knew one truth with absolute certainty. The galaxy would never be the same again. The warship that shouldn't exist had returned, and it carried with it the memory of a species that refused to die. The first strike. The battlefield was nothing but drifting wreckage now, the glow of dying engines and shattered metal painting the void in red and blue. The silence was broken only by the soft hum of Valkyrie's engines as it moved like a ghost through the debris. Calm, graceful, and unstoppable. In the command chamber of Zorath's Wrath, High Warlord Sareth leaned over the rail, his claws digging into the metal floor. Rage burned in his chest. His empire had crushed countless rebellions, erased entire species, but now, one forgotten warship was turning that same terror against him. He slammed his fist down. Reroute every ship, surround that monster. I want its hull torn apart, he roared. But Kyle, standing beside him, shook his head slowly. Sir, that won't work. His voice trembled. Their technology, no. Their strategy. It's beyond anything we've ever seen. It's like it already knows what we'll do. Sareth glared at him. Are you saying it can predict us? Kale hesitated. No, my lord. I'm saying it remembers us. Out in the void, Valkyrie's internal systems pulsed with a blue light. Deep within its core, the AI Erebus analyzed millions of battle outcomes in seconds, projecting every possible Dominion tactic, every movement pattern, every response. It had fought them before and long ago, and now, it was finishing the war humanity had started. The ship's targeting systems locked onto the heart of the Dominion fleet. Thousands of red icons flickered across the holographic interface. Erebus whispered to itself, initiating Phase 2. Kinetic storm. Without warning, Valkyrie's side panels opened, revealing rows of silent launch bays from within. Thousands of rods of tungsten metal, small, unassuming projectiles, and shot into space. They didn't glow, they didn't explode. They just fell. Each rod, accelerated by magnetogravitic force, struck its target at near relativistic speed. Invisible death raining down, and in seconds, whole Dominion cruisers vanished, and not destroyed by fire, but by sheer impact, crushed into dust before their shields could react. On the Wrath's bridge, the screens went red with damage alerts. Our forward fleet gone. One officer screamed, entire wings erased. Sareth bared his teeth. How? We didn't even detect weapons fire. Kale looked pale, his hands gripping the console. It's mass weapons, sir. Tungsten rods. Old Terran kinetic bombardment, no plasma. No energy trail, just gravity and speed. He looked up, his voice breaking. They're using the laws of physics as weapons outside. The Dominion's proudest dreadnought, the Devourer of Suns, turned its massive cannons toward Valkyrie. Firing beams strong enough to slice moons, the beam struck true, and yet the human warship's hull shimmered, absorbing the energy like a black mirror. No cracks, no damage, only a faint ripple of blue light. Then Valkyrie answered from its underbelly. Panels unfolded like metallic petals, revealing a massive structure. A railgun the size of a mountain. The same weapon that had destroyed their cruiser earlier, now fully charged. The hum deepened across the battlefield, low and steady. The kind of sound that made living beings tremble. Kale felt the vibration even from within the flagship. His bones humming. It's charging again, he whispered. Sareth shouted, "All shields at maximum!"
"Scatter formation!"
But it was already too late. The railgun fired. A single line of white energy streaked across the void, silent, perfect, unstoppable when it hit. The Devourer of Suns simply ceased to exist. The explosion that followed lit up the entire system like a second star. Fragments of molten armor scattered for hundreds of kilometers. Kale covered his eyes as the light flooded the bridge. "It's not a ship," he murmured. "It's a relic of gods." The officers were screaming, but Sareth only stood there frozen, his empire's strength dying before his eyes. Meanwhile, deep within Valkyrie, the AI observed the destruction with clinical precision. Its sensors detected thousands of life forms fleeing, hundreds of transmissions begging for mercy. Erebus processed them all and ignored them. "Mercy protocols deactivated," it said coldly. Retribution in progress. As the Dominion fleet broke apart, Valkyrie changed course, moving directly toward Zorath's wrath, its engines burning brighter than suns, leaving trails of silver light in its wake. Kale stared at the display. "It's coming for us," he whispered. "It's targeting the command vessel." Sareth's voice dropped into a growl. "Then let it come," he said. "I will not die running." But his bravado was empty. His crew felt it, the weight of doom approaching. Kale looked at the sensors again, his breath catching. "Sir, its weapons aren't the only thing active, I'm reading." "A biosignal inside that ship." Sareth turned sharply. "A what?" "A human," Kale whispered. "There's one life form aboard." The warlord's eyes widened. "That's impossible. Humanity is extinct." Kale shook his head slowly. "Not extinct, my lord. Waiting." Valkyrie loomed closer, its shadow falling over the Dominion flagship. Its railguns retracted as if the ship itself was watching, judging inside its silent halls. A cryochamber hissed open. A figure stepped out, armored in black and silver, the symbol of Earth gleaming on his chest. His voice, cold and steady, echoed through the comms. "This is Captain Rian Solis, Terran Navy. You attacked protected space. You murdered billions. Now your reign ends across the galaxy." Billions listened as the last human spoke, his words spreading through every Dominion frequency. The words carried no rage, only truth. And in that moment, the galaxy realized humanity had returned. The first strike was only the beginning. The silence spreads. The galaxy had never known silence like this before. Not the quiet of peace, but the stillness of fear. The kind that made entire worlds hold their breath. The kind that made even empires whisper instead of shout. Where once the Dominion's communication grids blazed with endless commands, trade routes and war orders, now there was only static, faint echoes of distress calls and the lingering hum of destroyed fleets drifting through the void. The Valkyrie moved through the aftermath like a ghost, its black hull sliding between burning wrecks. No sound, no life, just the endless echo of power. It didn't hunt for glory or conquest, it hunted for silence. The silence humanity had once endured, now returned to its makers. On Zorath's wrath, the bridge was in chaos. Fires burned along the floor, and the great warlord who once commanded galaxies now stared at his trembling reflection in a shattered control screen. High Warlord Sareth could feel the weight of history pressing down on him. His empire had lasted 1,000 cycles, yet it was unraveling in a single night. How? He whispered, his voice barely human. How could one ship, one ghost, do this? Kale stood nearby, his armor cracked, his face covered in soot. His eyes fixed on the great Terran warship outside. "It's not just a ship, my lord," he said softly. "It's a message. The galaxy forgot humans. But humans didn't forget the galaxy." The bridge lights flickered again, and a deep voice echoed through every comm channel. Dominion command structures detected. Silencing sequence initiated. It was Erebus. The ship's AI, its tone calm, merciless. And absolute in seconds, Dominion satellites began shutting down. One by one, across thousands of systems, communication links went dark. Fleet beacons went offline. Planets found themselves cut off from their overlords, alone and terrified. On mining worlds, slaves looked up at the sky as the Dominion banners blinked off their holoscreens. On prison stations, guards screamed for orders that never came. The power that had ruled for generations had vanished overnight, replaced by one phrase, burned into every surviving system: Terran protocol active. The rebellion didn't start with gun, it started with hope. People who had never known freedom suddenly realized their masters couldn't reach them anymore. The silence became their weapon. Across colonies, whispers grew. The humans are back. The Terrans have returned. The Warship watches. The Dominion's homeworlds panicked. Entire fleets recalled, but their hyperlanes were blocked. Artificial gravitational fields appeared where none existed before. Valkyrie had sealed them in. Every escape route turned to a trap. Kale watched from the flagship's viewport as the Terran warship's energy field pulsed. Spreading like a wave across the system, it wasn't destruction. It was domination. Data streams collapsed, sensors overloaded, and then silence. He felt it deep in his chest, the kind of stillness that meant an empire was dying. Sareth clung to the command console, eyes wild. "No!" he snarled. "I will not lose to ghosts. Prepare the Nova cannon." "But my lord," an officer stammered. "The weapon drains the reactor if it fails." "Do it," Sareth roared. "We are gods. We will burn the stars if we must." The crew obeyed. The massive Nova cannon extended from beneath the flagship, its charge building, light gathering like the heart of a newborn sun. Kale turned his eyes toward Valkyrie, still silent, still motionless, and then the human ship moved. It didn't dodge, didn't retreat, and it advanced. Slow and deliberate, every movement perfect. Like a predator walking through fire, the Dominion fired. The cannon unleashed a torrent of energy that split the void in half. Space itself twisted under the force. Kale closed his eyes, and when he opened them, the human ship was still there, untouched. The blast hadn't even scorched its surface, it simply rippled like water over stone. Sareth's voice broke. "What are they made of?" Kyle whispered the only answer that made sense: endurance. Then Valkyrie responded, but not with weapons. It transmitted something, a sound that wasn't quite mechanical, and it was music, faint and haunting, human voices singing across the void, old ancient, a hymn of earth. The Dominion soldiers froze as the melody filled their ships. For the first time, the conquerors of the galaxy heard the sound of the species they had erased, and it was beautiful. In the middle of the song, a voice spoke, Captain Rian Solis, his tone steady. "You ruled with fire and fear. You forgot mercy, you forgot truth. Now, the galaxy will remember both." Valkyrie's railguns came alive once more, light and thunder filling the system. One by one, Dominion command ships vanished. Not in chaos, but in perfect, terrifying order. And as each one fell, the signal of silence spread further until even the distant stars seemed dimmer. Kale stood motionless, tears mixing with sweat on his face. "It's over," he whispered. Sareth sank to his knees. His armor cracked, his pride shattered. "No," he muttered. "They were supposed to be gone." Kale looked at him, voice trembling. "They were, my lord, until you made them remember, outside." As the final Dominion dreadnought broke apart, Valkyrie hovered in the ruins. Erebus scanned the sector. No survivors capable of resistance. "Mission phase complete. Primary objective achieved," it said. Oppressors silenced. The silence spread farther than the Dominion had ever reached. Through wormholes, across systems, even to worlds that had forgotten the name Earth. And wherever the silence touched, so too did the whisper. The humans are watching. The fall of the tyrants. The galaxy's proudest empire was crumbling. Not from invasion, but from fear. The kind that seeps into bone and memory. The kind that no weapon can destroy across the Dominion's 1,000 worlds. Silence had become a plague, and from that silence, rebellion was born on Zorath Prime, the Dominion's capital. The sky was no longer filled with the glow of warships, but with burning debris. The great towers of the warlords cracked under their own weight. As slaves and workers rose from the shadows they had been forced to live in, their voices trembling yet fierce. "The Terrans have returned," they chanted. The tyrants fall. In the central citadel, the Dominion's High Council met for the last time. 7 warlords seated around a molten crystal table. Each one once a god in his own right, now pale and trembling. Holographic screens around them flickered with chaos. Riots, fleet losses, system failures, and above all the same repeating signal. Terran protocol active, one of them. Lord Velrock slammed his fist on the table. It's just one ship. He snarled, a relic! We outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1. Another, older and wiser, whispered. Then why are we the ones running? Above their heads, the massive holomap of the galaxy pulsed. Red sectors turning black, then vanishing one by one. The Dominion's reach shrinking faster than anyone could comprehend. It wasn't conquest, it was erasure. Precise and absolute, on the bridge of Valkyrie. Captain Rian Solis stood silently before the vast viewport, his armor reflecting the faint glow of dying worlds. He didn't smile, he didn't gloat. There was no victory here. Only justice delayed. Erebus's calm voice echoed through the command deck. Dominion command network collapsing. Rebellion forces rising in 73 systems. Estimated 90% dissolution within 40 hours. Solis nodded slowly. And the remaining 10? Hiding, Erebus replied, as they once made humanity hide. He turned his gaze to the fading stars. Then let them feel what we felt, he said quietly. Meanwhile, deep in Dominion space, fleets that once obeyed without question now turned their cannons on each other, warlords fighting for what little control they had left. Chaos replaced order and greed replaced discipline. Ships jumped blindly between sectors, only to vanish into gravitational traps left by Valkyrie's tactical field. One by one, the gods of the Dominion fell, not to battle, but to their own pride on the surface of Zorath Prime. Kale walked among the burning streets. He had escaped Zorath's wrath after it fell, now wandering through the ashes of his own empire. The sky above shimmered with the reflection of the Terran warship still orbiting the planet, like a silent judgment in the heavens. He heard shouts, chants, tears, but all for freedom, all for something greater than fear. A child ran past him holding a tattered piece of cloth. Not Dominion crimson, but a hand-drawn symbol of a blue earth with wings, the symbol of humanity. Kale stopped, his heart aching in confusion. Why would they worship their destroyers? He murmured. An old miner beside him replied, because destroyers of tyrants are bringers of dawn. Back in orbit, Valkyrie systems hummed softly. Erebus analyzed planetary transmissions. Resistance movement spreading beyond Dominion sectors, it reported. Civilian populations adopting Terran insignia as banners of rebellion. Solis closed his eyes. So it begins again, he whispered, not through domination, but through memory. He opened the ancient hololog of Earth. A projection of blue oceans and white clouds appeared before him, glowing faintly in the dark. Do you see it, Erebus? He said softly. They thought they buried us, but they forgot. Humanity was never soil. We were seed. Erebus paused for a moment, processing, and replied, Then the galaxy grows from your roots, Captain. Down below, the Dominion Council's last transmission went silent, their citadel consumed by flames, their symbols of power crumbling into dust. No battle cry, no surrender. Only the faint echo of Terran music playing through the atmosphere. The same haunting melody that had followed every strike. Kale looked up at the sky again. His breath trembling, he whispered, They're not conquerors. They're a reminder. In that moment, the entire Dominion network went dark. Erebus transmitted the final message across every system. The age of tyrants is over. The silence belongs to humanity. As the word spread, systems that once bowed to the Dominion rose under a single phrase whispered across the stars. The Terrans are awake. Captain Solis turned away from the viewport, the hologram of Earth flickering beside him. Set course for the next sector, he commanded. There are others still suffering. Erebus lights glowed brighter. Acknowledged, Captain. Target acquired, the next stronghold of oppression. The engines roared softly, and Valkyrie vanished into the dark once more, leaving behind a liberated world and the ashes of gods. The fall of the tyrants was complete, but their echo would carry forever, not in fear, but in awe, and in that silence. The galaxy whispered the same name once again after millennia of forgetting. Humans. The return of humanity. The void stretched endless and silent once again. But this silence was different, not born of fear, but of awe, the kind that follows revelation, the kind that marks the moment history shifts from one era to another. The Valkyrie moved through the black sea of stars, its engines humming with the steady rhythm of purpose. Behind it lay the ashes of an empire, before it, the future of a galaxy rediscovering hope. Captain Rian Solis stood at the viewport, his reflection ghostly in the dim light. He looked weary, not from battle but from the weight of memory, for he carried the voices of a lost world inside him, voices of oceans, laughter, and the hum of a planet that had once believed in peace. "Status report," he said quietly, his tone steady, measured. Erebus's voice responded calm and eternal. Dominion power structure dissolved. Rebel coalitions forming under Terran signal. Surviving human colonies reawakening across outer sectors. Solis frowned. Reawakening? Erebus displayed a holomap. Hundreds of faint blue dots blinking across the spiral arms of the galaxy. Old cryopods, hidden bunkers, and abandoned Earth outposts long thought destroyed, coming to life one by one. Humans preserved themselves in fragments, Erebus said, waiting for the right signal. Your return triggered reactivation. Solis took a slow breath, awe flickering in his eyes. So we were never gone, he murmured. Only waiting to be remembered far below. On Zorath Prime and other freed worlds, something extraordinary was happening. The oppressed had begun to rebuild, not under flags or rulers, but under shared memory. Old archives of Terran art, music, and philosophy spread like wildfire. Children of alien races sang Earth songs they had never heard before. Miners painted the Terran eagle on their helmets. Soldiers raised makeshift banners of blue and white. The galaxy was remembering what humanity stood for. Not domination, but defiance, not cruelty, but endurance. On one distant moon, a broadcast tower came alive, transmitting the Terran signal. A message that spread from system to system. A voice, Solis's voice, carried across the stars. This is Captain Rian Solis of the Terran Navy. Humanity never fell. We endured, and we rise not for vengeance, but for balance. No world shall kneel again. No life shall be silenced by fear. His words echoed in countless languages, resonating in hearts that had never known hope. And across the galaxy, billions looked up at the night sky, searching for that one warship that had shattered the chains of an empire. When they saw its silhouette glide through the heavens, they didn't tremble, they whispered, "The humans protect." Back on Valkyrie's bridge, the stars shifted as new energy signatures appeared. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Erebus's voice held something almost like emotion. Contact detected. Multiple Terran vessels exiting stasis fields. Identification: TNS Aegis, TNS Prometheus, TNS Dauntless, TNS Horizon. Solis's eyes widened. The black of space lit up as vast shadows emerged from the dark. Colossal human ships awakening from centuries of sleep, each one carrying the same insignia, the Silver Eagle of Earth. It was not just one ship anymore, it was a fleet, a black armada. Their hulls gleamed like obsidian, scars of old wars still etched into their plating. Yet their reactors pulsed with new life. One by one they formed up beside Valkyrie. Silent giants aligning in perfect formation. Erebus spoke again, its tone steady but almost reverent. Terran Fleet Command re-established, awaiting orders. "Captain." Solis looked at the stars, the ghost of a smile on his lips. "Transmit one command," he said softly. "To every world that still listens, humanity has returned." The message spread faster than light. Across every channel, every network, every remaining Dominion beacon, even those buried deep within enemy archives. On distant planets, people dropped to their knees. Tears streaming down their faces. On rebel stations, cheers erupted. And in the dark corners of forgotten colonies, the sound of laughter, human laughter, filled the air for the first time in millennia. As the Valkyrie led the formation, the other ships followed, their thrusters lighting the dark in waves of blue and gold, forming what looked like constellations reborn. Together they moved toward the galactic rim. Their purpose clear, not conquest but protection, to ensure no tyranny would ever rise again unchecked. Erebus's sensors detected encrypted messages from distant observers. Races that had once feared humanity now sending pledges of alliance. "They are asking for guidance," it said. Solis nodded, his gaze steady. "Then we give them what humanity always gave: courage." As the Terran fleet disappeared into the endless sea of stars, their transmissions echoed one final phrase that would forever change galactic history. From the ashes of silence, humanity speaks again. And this time, the galaxy listens. The Dominion was gone. The fear was gone. But the memory of that single warship, that first flash of light in the darkness, would never fade. And so began the second age of humanity, not written in blood or war, but in unity and remembrance, and in the promise that if darkness ever rose again, the stars would once more burn with Terran light.